Hey developers, so in this video we're going to be looking at making a CSS illustration of a heart right here. Now there are multiple ways to do this, and in this picture here that I've drawn up, we can see that there are two ways to do it. So one with three parts, where we have a circle, another circle, and a rotated square, or this one where we have two parts only, and one part here and another part here that both overlap to create the heart shape. So for this video, I will be showing you this method right here with the two part because I think it's a bit easier to do and it looks just as good. Now let's get started and jump right into the code. So inside the editor now, you can see that I have a basic project setup with an index.html and a CSS folder with two files inside. So before we begin, let's go through the base.css to see what styles are in this. So I have a basic reset styles here, and I also have a HTML and body targeting to change the height and width to 100%, giving it a little background as well, and overflow of hidden. So for every element and the pseudo elements here, I'm setting a position of absolutes, so it's easier for us to position the elements where we want to. And for the pseudo elements before and after here, I'm just giving them a default content of empty and a z-index of 1. So with that out of the way now, let's move on to the index.html. So we open up that, and we can see that I have a basic structure right here. Just importing the style sheets here, and the main thing here is that we're going to have a single div with a class of heart. That's all it takes for the HTML here. So let's also open up a live preview on the side so we can see the changes that happen in real time. And the rest of the work here will be done in our styles.css right here, if I move it on the left here. Cool. So to get started now, we're gonna add in some variables right here in the roots that we can use for later. And I'm just gonna copy some that I have predefined. So it's just gonna be so primary color of red for the heart, and we're also gonna have a wrapper size, and the two important parts here are the two heart parts that we saw in the pictures before. So one like this and one like that, and this is just the height and width of these parts. So these numbers I've played around with, but you can also change them to make them suit your one. So getting started, we're going to first target the heart class here. And let's first give it the height and width. So we'll do a height. And we're going to use the variables that we used before, that we defined. So let's do a var. And we can target that heart.wrapper size here. And we'll do the same thing for the width as well. Now let's also, so this is just the wrapper here, so nothing will show up right now. Let's also position this in the middle. So we can do a top of 50%, left of 50%, and we'll just transform this to make it perfectly positioned in the middle. So for now, we can give this a background color to see what's happening here. We can just say, let's give this a blue color, or maybe a green, which has a square in the middle right here. So now we're going to look at doing a before and after pseudo elements to make the two parts appear, like this over here and over here. So with the main wrapper done now, we can target the pseudo elements before and after to create the two heart parts. So to do that, we'll do a heart of before, and we'll also do a heart of after. And for these styles, we're going to have a height and a width. So height again, we'll use a var. Let's get the variable of hearts part of the heights. And we'll do the same thing here, but replace the height with the width. Just like that. And we'll also give this a background color. using the variable as well. So we'll do the heart-primary. And now we see these two parts overlap right here. So there's a before and an after. So now we also want to have that the border radius, the curve of the heart. So we're going to do a border of top left radius of 100 pixels. And we'll do the same thing for the top right as well. And the top right. That will give us this little curve right here, the border radius. So now that that's done, the main thing now is to, I guess, rotate these into the shape of a heart. So let's first target the before by itself. And we can do a transform, and we'll rotate this by -45 degrees. So that makes it turn this way right here. And let's now remove the background here since we don't need to see that anymore. And we'll do the same thing for the heart after. So we can do a transform here and a rotate of 45 degrees. So this will be the other way around. And we see it's like that. So now we need to position the left to make these positioned properly together to form that heart shape. So if we go back to the before now, we can have a left of 36 pixels. So that will move it that way. And for the after, we can do a left of 100 pixels. So these are numbers that I played around with, but you can play around with your own one if you decide to make the height and width a bit different. So if I did 90, it will be a little bit different. So you just have to get the exact number that you're looking for where it overlaps. So that's the basics of making a heart right here. Just the two parts overlapping together to create that heart shape. So with that done, there are a couple of things we can do to improve the look of this a little bit more. So one of them is that we can add a box shadow to the two parts. So if I just copy this, I'm going to have another variable for the color of the box shadow. It's going to be a little red. And now if I make a box shadow right here and just copy it into the before, you can see that it gets a little bit of a box shadow right here. So with an outside box shadow and an inset, which is more of an inside shadow as well. So if I do the same thing to the after with a different positioning, you can see that it gets one here as well on the other side to make it look a bit more better. So it's using the same color but just different X and Y positionings right here. So these are values that you can play around with, but so this is just one way of making the heart look a little bit better and less plain, I guess. So another thing is that we can add an animation now to make the heart have a pulse effect. So now if we add another file to our CSS folder, let's name it keyframes.css. And we'll also bring that into the HTML right here. I'll just bring it into as keyframes.css. So I have a keyframe written right here. So I'm just going to copy this one in. So all that's happening here in this pulse keyframe is that the scale will increase the size of the heart to 1.2 of its original size, and then it will scale back down to 1, which is the original size of the heart. So to see this in action, let's go back to the styles of CSS. And the first thing that we need to do here is add a transform origin. Otherwise, the animation will be a little bit weird because the origin point is a little bit different. So we want this to be just 0, 0. And now we can do an animation of pulse. And we can do 1.5 seconds. Let's do an ease and an infinite to make it loop forever. So if I save this down, you can see that it'll pulse up twice and go down to normal just for the last part. So that's how you can do the animation right there. So that's all for this video. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. If you liked the video, give me a thumbs up and subscribe for more content, and I'll see you in the next one.